Hello everybody and welcome back to my sunroom here in East Tennessee. I bought a new little miniature no ID Phalaenopsis and I thought I would go over some care tips, especially for beginners or as a brush up video. When we buy new orchids, sometimes things happen with them, and especially as beginners, if you've never had these before, you're not going to quite understand what's going on. Bud blast is a topic that comes up on my channel quite a bit in the comments section. I just bought this new Phalaenopsis orchid and all of a sudden some of the blooms are drying up. And as you see, this is what's happened right here. So I thought before I trim these off, because that's what I do, I trim them off, I'm going to show you the difference between bud blast, which happens when an orchid goes through changes in temperatures, humidity, or light, especially if you're buying a new orchid, let's say at the grocery store or a garden center or an orchid show, and it's been used to being under certain conditions for a while. Then all of a sudden, they kind of switch and they start trying to adjust to your environment. This can happen. But I want you to see, do you see how there's new buds up here? Okay, this means this orchid has not been in bloom for a long time. So when you're buying an orchid, keep in mind that if you still have buds that are unopened on the top of the spike, that means that that orchid is just starting to bloom out, or it's been blooming out for maybe a month or two, and you still have quite a while on this spike to enjoy the blooms. And here's my foul purple dust. She has been in bloom for about 7 months now. And do you see how this bloom right here is fading? This is completely normal. This is the aging process of the blooms. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong, doesn't mean that this is bud blast. It just means that this bloom is old, it's getting ready to fall off. Do you see how these blooms are still beautiful? When the older blooms fall off the plant, that's just a sign that the plant has been in bloom for quite some time. These blooms will fall off usually from the bottom of the spike and down. So that's how you know the difference between just the regular aging process of a Phalaenopsis orchid bloom and when you have bud blast. And if you look at the top of this plant, do you see how these little buds that hadn't even really formed that well yet, how they're turning brown? That is also bud blast. So that's what that looks like. They haven't even developed fully yet. So in this instance, I'm just going to cut that one spent bloom up off of the plant. I kind of like to keep them tidy. It's very hard to pull them off. I wouldn't recommend that. Sometimes you can bend. I've actually bent a spike before like that. Just take some sterilized scissors and snip it off from the plant like that. Yeah, you see how that one was just shriveled up? I like to keep them off of the plant. It just keeps the plant looking really, really pretty and fresh. And you might be wondering, why didn't all of these fall off of the plant? Why didn't they all shrivel up and fall off like that? It's because these had been in bloom for a while. After a bloom has been on a plant, an orchid, let's say a Phalaenopsis, for about a month, they become more hardened to that happening. They're more resilient. They're not going to fall off as easy to temperature changes and light changes. So these I'm going to get to enjoy, and I believe that these buds right here are pretty much safe. I believe these are going to bloom out. So this orchid should probably be in bloom for the next, I'd say about the next 3 months. Now let's say you buy a Phalaenopsis orchid and it looks something like this, with almost all of the blooms bloomed out, no buds. You don't really know how long that Phalaenopsis has been in bloom. So it can be in bloom anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months in your home, just depending on how long it's been since the blooms have been on the plant. It's very, very hard to tell. So when you're buying new plants, if you want them to bloom longer for you, then just buy one that has maybe even a bud or two still unopened, and you know you're going to get months rather than a week or two to enjoy. Another thing I was going to show you today is a healthy root system. This one is growing in bark, and as you see, I've got a lot of pretty green roots in this bark. I'm not going to repot this one yet. This one is in bark. It's going to need to be placed in new Orchid bark when it's done blooming, but for right now I'm going to leave it as it is. It's doing just really well. So this is what you're looking for. You're looking for nice healthy roots, lots of healthy roots in the pot. If you don't see healthy roots in the pot, then you don't know what you're getting. So I passed up actually the orchid that I wanted to buy from my grocery store in lieu of this one. Of course, I love yellow, and this one has these really pretty freckles. But the one that I wanted, it didn't have any roots in the pot. And I thought, no, I would rather buy a nice, healthy phal with a good root system. And I think that this one was just absolutely perfect. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. I hope that this has been helpful to you, especially to people who are just now starting their collection. I believe this is going to be a useful video for you all. I'd like to thank my sponsor as well, the Orchid Supply Store. And if you're a beginner and you would like to get some really good New Zealand spag moss, which is what I recommend, or some Orchid bark to start your collection in, that's what I grow in, and I have grown in Best Grow moss and Orchid bark for several years with excellent success. When you place your order, make sure you use my coupon code Amy, and you'll get a 12% viewers discount. So you get free shipping if you're inside the United States. So you all make it a great day. Before I end the video, I'd love to say the blessing over you, your families, and your plants. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. You all make it a great day. We'll talk to you next time.